Hey, what's going on, my nerds and collectors alike? We are back at it again with another review from the Infinity Saga line. Today we are taking a look at Thor from Avengers Endgame. Getting a closer look here. So at the top we have the Avengers Endgame logo with the Infinity Saga line logo right here. This time around we are looking at Thor. In the packaging here you can see Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. Looks like he's got a couple of extra hands and a lightning accessory. On the side here, we've got that same poster, where it's split in half on the two sides. On the top there, we have the Avengers Endgame logo. On the bottom, you've got your barcodes, warnings, unreadables, legalese, all the fun stuff. Not for children under 3 years old. On the back here, we have the unofficial poster for Endgame, because as we know, Robert Downey Jr. Doesn't license anything for merchandise, so they can't show his face on the back of the poster. We also have a bio that reads, Thor, armed with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, the son of Odin steps onto the battlefield to face Thanos one final time. So he's looking pretty good. Let's crack this guy open and see what he's about. Alright, and here we have Thor, Odin's son, out of his packaging, displayed here with a couple of his accessories. We're going to go ahead and take these away real quick. So he does actually come with two of these accessories in the packaging. It just looked like he came with one because they were stacked together. Go ahead and take his weapons away here. Bring him in a little bit closer. So sadly, we do only get the powered up head sculpt. It would have been nice to see if an additional head sculpt just with regular eyes in there. But this is the one that we got, which I guess, if we're going to get one for the final battle edition of Thor, the powered up version was probably the better choice, but you know, options are nice. Nevertheless, we do have a good likeness to Chris Hemsworth here, especially in his, what I like to call God King Thor. I know a lot of people are calling this Warrior Thor. So yeah, here we have some nice dry brushing over what seems to be a darker blonde hair sculpt, which looks really nice for his beard. We even have his little beard braid right there. You do have his scar going across his right eye, although it does look kind of large for how I remember it. I could be wrong, it could be this big, but I think that looks a little bit large, because that's going all the way from the top of his forehead here, all the way down to his cheek where it meets his beard. Not sure if that's super accurate or not, but I don't mind it too much. It looks alright. We do have, looks like a couple of smaller scars there. Or maybe they're trying to simulate some wrinkles, because you can actually see they printed some wrinkles on the forehead. We do get a nice airbrushed highlight around the eyes here that make it look like his eyes are glowing. And if you get in real closely, you can actually see that his eyes are painted over an ice blue. It's not just white in there. So that's very cool to see. We've got his nice tufts of hair back here all tied up and out of the way. This time around we actually do have the black armor on his arms as opposed to the silver that we've seen, which it is supposed to be black. I'm actually not sure why we got silver on the previous Thor figure from Infinity War. I'm guessing it's due to concept art again, but, you know. We actually have an accurate Thor this time around. And, of course, he does have his belly here, which this is all brand new sculpt. I'm hoping to actually see these arms maybe reused again for a reiteration of Infinity War Thor. Would be nice. Especially since the old Thor's arms, his shoulders were so tight that basically everybody sheared the pegs off. I used some shock oil on mine, and even still it's super tight. I am pleased to say that this time around, these are not tight at all. Well, I mean, not overly tight. They're tight enough, is what I'm trying to get at there. We have a nice gloss black here on his discs on the armor, and we have that same brown that we saw on the Infinity Saga Odin, or not brown, bronze, which we also do have lines picked out on the pants here for that same kind of bronze look. Down here to his boots, they are just a plain black. This time around for the cape, we do get that black inlay with the red on the back, and we also have the correct shape for the vinyl piece there that holds. This cape is not as soft as it was on Odin, but it is still kind of soft enough to get out of the way, and unlike Odin, this one doesn't drape over any articulation or anything, so the only hindrance you're going to have is moving back, but that'll be alright. I might replace this with a cloth version at some point. I am not sure yet. I also might repaint his eyes here just to have regular eyes, because that's kind of my preferred look throughout the battle. He had regular eyes. I know that the lightning eyes are the smarter choice if we had to go with one head sculpt for this, because he's all powered up and ready to go, but at the same time, he only had it for a couple seconds when he was summoning Stormbreaker and Mjolnir and called down the thunder, so, you know, we'll see about that. Before I get into articulation, let me pull his head off here. Well, I don't know if I can pull it off or not, but there we go. So he does have a nice thick dumbbell joint up at the top of his head here, and then as you can see also at the bottom there is a ball joint down there, which doesn't really give you a lot of motion. Oddly enough, his neck here seems to be unsculpted. It just seems to be a flesh-toned cylinder piece. There's no Adam's apple or anything. Maybe mine's in the back and I just can't see it or not. I don't know here. The shadow is making it look like there's an indentation, but there's actually not one. So that's interesting. But popping his head back on right there. So it is on a dumbbell joint. Sadly, due to his hair is not the softest, so we do have some limitation there. So looking down, that's as far as he gets, as well as that's as far up as he gets. Even tilt is kind of hindered here. If you force it, you can get some, but I don't like forcing my figures to do anything. So head is a little bit hindered here. You do still get rotation, so you can still have them look side to side. So that's nice. For shoulders, sadly no butterfly joints. That would have been good to see, but we do get 360. His arms go up past 90, which is very nice to see. You do have a bicep swivel. We do have pinless joints at the double elbows here, which articulate all the way up. His wrists swivel. And on these hands, you do have an up and down hinge for the weapon wielding hands. On the other set of hands, just to bring these in for a moment, it is a horizontal hinge, so these do go in and out for his summoning hands, which makes sense to me. That works fine. We do have a diaphragm joint, which can crunch forward that far. Crunches back pretty well, so he does get a good crunch back. For his hips, oh yes, this also does provide tilt, and this will also give you your waist swivel. So, diaphragm joints, always welcome, especially for a bigger sculpted piece like that. There's kind of nothing else you can use. An ab crunch would look very ugly. There'd be a very large cut right there, so diaphragm joint is welcomed on this piece. For his hips, it is limited by his stomach, but that is also how it will work in real life, so he can only kick up that far. He can actually kick back just ever so slightly. His hips kick out about 45 degrees, so that's about on par with the rest of the Marvel Legends line, basically. We have a thigh rotation here with pinless double-jointed knees that allow him to kick all the way back and kick his own ass. So Fush Robo will be happy with this one. You also have an ankle hinge, which will allow his ankle to hinge back that far. Can also hinge forward slightly. And of course, there's an ankle pivot. So Thor has some pretty good articulation here. Doesn't really leave you desiring anymore. Things could have been done differently. We still, always with longer hair characters, it would always be nice to have their hair sculpts be much softer than they end up being, because long-haired characters always have hindrances in articulation. Soft goods cape would have been cool too, and some butterfly hinges. Butterfly joints here at the shoulders, that'd be nice. But, you know, you get what you get. We've needed this figure for a long time now, and he looks good for what we've gotten. And so transitioning into his accessories here, if Thor will stand. For some reason, he's a little bit back heavy, funny enough. We do get Stormbreaker, which we will look at first, as this is his new primary weapon. And this Stormbreaker is obviously cast in a translucent blue plastic with a silver airbrushing over it, so that way it looks like it's charged with lightning power. You do get the nice silver between the branches there of the Groot handle. Now, Stormbreaker, in my opinion, is done way better than Mjolnir is for this set, just due to the dry brushing looking very well and transitioning into the translucent plastic as opposed to what Mjolnir does. We do not get a regular Stormbreaker or a Mjolnir in this set, but we do have a fix for that if you do have a couple other figures. Here's the Mjolnir in the set, and as you can see for this one, for some reason, instead of just doing the dry brushing all the way like they did with Stormbreaker here, if it'll focus, we have a an airbrushed dot right in the center of the hammer, and then a lightning deco in silver for some reason. Not sure why they did that, but that's on each side. We get just a airbrushed silver dot and then lightning deco. So that's kind of ugly, not gonna lie. Not a huge fan of that. We do have, this is the same sculpt as the Mjolnir that you get in the Power and Glory Captain America figure, if you get what I'm getting at with that. The brown is cast in a lighter plastic this time around, and obviously the hammer is no longer cast in silver. I do have a little bit of running paint at the bottom of my pommel right here, but, you know, we're used to that kind of thing. You also get 2 of the lightning effect pieces, which are the exact same as the one that we got with Infinity War Thor. They are just cast in a darker blue. So this is more of a crystallized kind of ocean blue, and then we get more of, feels like a matte kind of ice blue with this one. But they are the exact same effect piece, just cast in different plastic. So if you wanted to use some of these, I know I've seen some posts on Instagram where they were able to wrap these pieces around his arm and actually get Stormbreaker in there to look like he was summoning it. So that was pretty cool. If you can manage to do that and you have this piece as well, maybe you can get Mjolnir to also do the same thing. Moving these aside here, we also get summoning hands, or these can be used as gripping hands, relaxing hands. Basically just some gesturing hands. These are Doctor Strange's hands, funny enough, for the hands that we've been getting with Doctor Strange for many years now. But they work for Thor. It's fine. And they're easy enough to swap out. You just unplug that hand and plug this one in. And then if you want, and you can get those effect pieces on, you just pose it out, and it looks like he's summoning one of his weapons. And then obviously you got your powered weapon there that you can use. But coming down to some people's concerns of not liking the charged up versions of those weapons. So if you have the, what they dubbed the Bro Thor Build-A-Figure, you do get a Stormbreaker with that figure, which is the exact same sculpt as this Stormbreaker. This handle is darker, and obviously the hammer itself and the axe are cast in blue plastic, painted over, whereas this one's cast in silver plastic. But if you wanted an uncharged Stormbreaker, there's that option. There is also the Infinity War Stormbreaker, which is a completely different sculpt because this was the concept art for it. But if you have Infinity War Thor, he also came with a Stormbreaker. So you could use that. For Mjolnir, obviously, you have the first option of Power and Glory Captain America, which this is my favorite Mjolnir. But that's just personal preference. This is my favorite sculpt of Mjolnir we've gotten. So you always have this option, which is the option that they reused with this one. So if you have those two figures, you basically have the mirrored parts of the charged pieces. So that way they would look well enough together for transitions, stop motions, or whatever you want to do with those. But obviously we've gotten some other Mjolnirs in the past. For example, this is one that came with the Age of Ultron Thor that came in that 4-pack many, many years ago. So there's always this option for a Mjolnir. It is a little bit smaller, but still works. The handle obviously is a different sculpt, but options. So you always have something to use. I'm sure most of you have more than one Thor figure in your collection, so you've got options to use there. And so on and so forth. Getting into some comparisons here. Here is Endgame Thor next to other Endgame Thor, being Bro Thor. As you can see, new Thor is just a little bit taller. One, because of the hair sculpt, and two, because he's got boots instead of his Crocs. Here he is compared to the Infinity War Thor with the kit bash that a lot of people did, where they took the alternate head from Bro Thor, slapped it onto the Infinity War body to kind of get that long-haired look. And obviously, the Infinity War Thor was back when they still made Asgardian characters much larger than they actually were supposed to be. New Endgame Thor is actually the right scale. As you can see, he goes with the Bro Thor there. They go hand in hand as the same height, basically. He's just wearing boots. So he's got a little bit of a height advantage on him, but that's the right scale there. So taking these two away. Let's get Thor with some other Asgardian characters. Here he is with Loki in the Infinity War look. And might as well bring in Loki from the Loki TV series. So as you can see, Thor is just a little bit taller than Loki. Ever so slightly. But those do look good together. We also have him here next to his father, Odin. If I can get either of them to stand up. There we go. Trying to fight me right there. Alright. Still not going. My ankle is a little stiff on this one, so it's not wanting to sit. There we go. Taking off Odin's crown here, you can see that Thor has a good height advantage on his father, which does make sense because Chris Hemsworth, I want to say, is 6'4", as opposed to the 5'8", 5'6" that I think this character is. The actor's name blanked on me for some reason. I'm not sure why. But for any of you who want to name him off in the comments or correct me or do whatever, feel free to. Let's get him next to the Thanos Build-A-Figure here. As you can see, that Thanos is a good bit taller than he is. It looks like Thor comes up to about halfway up his shoulder. We also have the Endgame Final Battle Edition of the SH Figuarts Thor, which also looks really good next to him. He's got a nice height advantage there. These two definitely go well together. I think possibly even better than the SH Figuarts Final Battle Edition Thor, which I do not have. And last but not least, let's get the endgame looks of our big three here, since that was the last time we will see any of them all together again. So there we have Thor next to the Endgame Wave 3, Bro Thor Build-A-Figure Wave, Iron Man Mark 85, and the Walmart exclusive Power and Glory Captain America. Which, this cap is a little bit short, but I still think it looks the best out of any Captain America that we've actually received, even from SH Figure Arts and Metacom and all of them. I think that Captain America is the best looking, in my opinion. Final thoughts on this figure. He's fantastic. This is a Thor that we've needed for a very long time. I just wish that maybe we came with a different head, or he also came with powered down accessories, but you get what you get. We always have options. We've gotten things with other figures that we can use for him. This guy looks fantastic. His articulation works well. He's not overly stiff like other Thors we've had. They fixed the height thing with him. We've got an accurate cape. So definitely recommend it. I'd give this figure like an 8 out of 10. I know a lot of people actually have him on their top 10 MCU Legends of the Year, which no doubt he deserves. So yeah, before I sign off here, I want to go ahead and say that this channel and all of its content are not for anyone under the age of 13 years old. Stay safe, guys. Happy collecting.